Welcome, everybody, to a new season of the Cincinnati Bengals Weekly Show. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster, and I want to welcome in, as always, my co-host, Joe Kelly.
Hey, what's going on, Mike?
Nothing, just waiting. We only got a couple more days to see a game for real.
Yeah, a couple more days, man. You know, it's all the real stuff begins this week. I think we are sitting in a great situation. We are starting the season off relatively healthy. So I'm excited. I'm looking for a huge year, even though it didn't end the way we wanted to last year. I'm expecting us to be in a similar situation, but ending up in a lot better situation.
Yeah, most definitely. Hopefully we can knock the Steelers out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
But it's all right. We got a guest. We got a guest today. We got Darius Hillary, cornerback for the Cincinnati Bengals, from the Wisconsin Badgers. He was on the show a few months ago when he first signed with the Bengals. How you doing, Darius?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
All right. So tell us, you went to camp, free agent, undrafted. What was camp like? What was the experience from going from a Division I program in Wisconsin to going to the Cincinnati Bengals training camp against that competition?
It was a great learning experience. Every day, was a grind, and you just had to come in, willing and ready to work. The coaches always say, you have to give your best when your best is required of you, and whether that's in meetings or whether you're out on the field doing a walkthrough or at actual practice. But it was definitely a great learning experience. Everybody out there, brings something different to the table. It's all about just how you can fit in that window of the team.
Yeah. Now, when you get here, you got a lot of veteran defensive backs, a lot of veterans on the defense overall. Was there anybody that kind of took you under their wing and helped you out?
I mean, a lot of the defensive backs, Adam Jones, Drake Kirkpatrick, Chris Lewis Harris, all those guys, Darquez Denard, George Iloka, everybody. It's a close-knit group, and they wanted to make sure that everybody was on the same page so that we could all be the best that we could be.
All right, now before I turn it over to Joe and let Joe ask you a question, your first game in the jungle, could you hear Joe screaming for you in the middle of the crowd?
Yeah, he's always been a supporter, that's the godfather right there, and I'm just blessed to have somebody like him in my life right now.
Yeah.
All right, Joe.
Well, I think more rather than a question, I think I'd rather have a statement, in regards to Darius making the transition from college football to pro football. If you look back on it, while he was at Wisconsin, Wisconsin was one of the best, highest-ranked defensive teams all years he was there. His freshman year, J.J. Watt obviously was there, but every year they were at the top in regards to total defense, and they faced top competition, Big Ten competition, SEC competition, Pac-12 competition. So in regards to his transition, Mike, I knew that talent-wise, pedigree-wise, being that, his dad, obviously, we played together on the Bengals, Darius Hillary. But if you look at the Hillary family from Edgefield, South Carolina, that Hillary family, man, there's Ira along with another Hillary were voted to the top. They had a sports panel, and they have the top 100 high school football players in the history of North Carolina, and Ira Hillary as well as another Hillary. I couldn't recall the other Hillary Darius, but they were ranked one of the top 100 high school football players in the history of South Carolina. So that being said, I knew he had the pedigree. I knew he had the talent. The biggest thing from transitioning from D1 to the NFL is the fact once you get here, you don't become in awe. And when I say you become in awe, because when you get here, no matter how talented those guys were at Wisconsin, no matter how talented those guys were at Alabama, when you get to this level, everybody is a step above all of those guys. So when you get here, you can't be in the awe of the guy that's bigger, stronger, faster than you. At the end of the day, it still comes down to playing football. And, Darius has a great background, very, very knowledgeable of the defensive scheme that the Bengals were running, because it was similar to the Wisconsin defensive scheme. So that being said, I knew his chances were pretty well. He's definitely wasn't really happy, too happy with not making the 53-man active roster, but I think he understands the situation that he's in. And like you said, you take every day and you go out and you practice hard, you practice and prepare like you are ready to play. And I think that's what he's doing, and I think he has some great guys in that defensive backfield too, where he can learn from.
I mean, that's why I would like to bring up a guy I think is a really good defensive back coach, Kevin Coyle, and maybe Darius' thoughts on Coach Coyle.
Coach Coyle, he's a great guy. He knows the game of football pretty well, and, he wants to put, all of his players in the best position possible to make plays. A lot of the drills and things that we do during practice actually correlate to, what we might see in a game, whether that's, with press technique or off technique, our tackling ability, everything that he does is designated, for the game. And, he's just a great person, and a very respectable guy, and I really like him.
Yeah.
All right, Joe.
Well, yeah. Now, how was the Darius as far as the way the Bengals ended last year versus Pittsburgh? Did you feel or get a sense of the team not really finishing, or what happened, and being able to put that game behind them and use it as a motivational tool to start this season off and finish it off the way that they really want to finish it off this year?
Yeah, I think everybody is ready and willing to make this season the best season that the Bengals have had thus far. We don't really like to live in the past. We just want to move forward and be positive and just finish out and do whatever we have to do in order to make it to that Super Bowl. But I definitely feel this is a great group of guys who's committed and willing to do anything to win every game this season.
Yeah, and I would think really just from being in training camp as opposed to Wisconsin is there weren't any A.J. Greens in Wisconsin. And if we're going to talk about the wide receivers, another undrafted free agent from Wisconsin, Alex Erickson, you got a few words on him?
Yeah, Alex, he's a great receiver. He pays close attention to, those little details. And, anything that you ask of him, he's going to give it to you, even better than what you've asked of him. He's a very smart player, and, he knows how to play the game of football, and he knows when to make those plays in a football game. So, I'm definitely proud of what he's done thus far.
Yeah, and we'll go ahead. We'll talk a little bit about the matchup now, Joe, between the Bengals and the New York Jets. I would think the big matchup here that I want to watch is Revis against A.J. Green, Joe.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a huge matchup. I think the Jets going into this game, they look at what they have to stop, the players that they have to stop, and defensively wise for New York, I think their main objective will be to stop or at least slow A.J. Green down, and if they can do that, that can help them hopefully maybe bring up 7 in the box, 8 in the box to neutralize the Bengals' running game. But I think A.J. Green definitely all year he's going to be a guy that's targeted. He's going to be a guy that's doubled. He's going to be a guy that they roll the defensive coverage to. So I think he's comfortable in that role. He is definitely a number one receiver, and the defenses that he's done against the last 4 or 5 years, he's seen pretty much all the teams throw different coverages and different schemes at him. So I think we're going to fare well. I think Revis is still one of the top corners. I think age is catching up to Revis, and I think those young legs of A.J. Green will give us an advantage.
Yeah, and I think, Darius, a lot of things. One of the big questions this team moving in is you lose Sanu, you lose Jones. You want to give us your take on the rest of the Bengals receiving corps, Tyler Boyd and Alex Erickson, all those guys, and what do you think they can make the leap up to cover for Sanu and Jones and what they left?
A lot of the receivers that we have now, they're all very special, in their own way. They bring something different to the table. Guys like Tyler Boyd, Alex Erickson, Brandon LaFell, they're Cody Core, they're all guys that can go make plays on the ball. So, I'm excited to see, how they're going to handle this first game. I think they're going to do a great job and help contribute to the Bengals winning the first game.
Yeah, and if you look at the Bengals offense, Joe, I think with Cedric Ogbuehi coming in to play right tackle instead of Andre Smith, I know that Bodine looked like he's improved a lot. I really like this Bengals offensive line. I think it's a lot better than last year's.
Yeah, I think they are. I think Bodine is I think he faced a lot of adversity last year. I think he faced a lot of criticism. And I think he responded well. He responded as a professional. He didn't whine and moan and worry about all the negative things that people were saying about him, and I think that showed in his preseason play. Obviously, it's for me, there's an upgrade at tackle, letting Andre go to Minnesota. So that offensive line, I think we're going to be more stout. I think we're going to be stronger at the point of attack. There was times last year where I think we got physically outmanned and physically handed in certain situations. But overall, I look at this offensive line this year. I think we're stronger. I think we have improved in spots, and then you have the veteran leadership with Whitworth. So I think offensive line, they're posed to have a good year. The running backs look really good in preseason. Giovanni looked good. Jeremy Hill looked extremely well. I think he's got his confidence back. He's running north and south. And, I think that they're ready.
I think a big question in this game is whether the Bengals can run the ball on the Jets. The Jets last year were number 2 against the run. They've got a very stout front seven. What do you think the key is for the Bengals to put points on the New York Jets?
I think we're going to have to mix it up. I think they're looking at the offensive scheme. I was just hoping that it wasn't a huge diversion from what Hugh Jackson ran the last couple of years, and I think it's similar. Obviously, there's some changes, small changes here and there, but I think for us, I think we keep them on their toes. We give them a mixture of passes. We give them mixtures of runs, and I think man for man, all 11 men, our offense against their defense. I just think we're better. I think we will have our running backs will have some creases here and there. I don't know if their middle linebacker Harris. I know he got hurt in preseason, but I don't know if he's going to play
he
Sunday.
Didn't practice the other day, but I didn't see where he was definitely out or not.
Yeah, but I still look at advantage for us. I think those guys, they're comfortable with the scheme. Those guys are athletically and professionally. I think those guys are at a peak. We look at Andy. We look at AJ. We're losing a little bit on the tight end because Eifert is not available. But I think the key is going to be our offensive lineman because we don't have that third option, with Eifert that we know we will have later on in the season. So our offensive line is going to be a key to this game.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look defensively for the Bengals to stop the Jets, I mean, Darius, I'm sure you've seen the film. I've seen the Jets running back or wide receivers before, Brandon Marshall, Eric Decker. That's a tough matchup for any defensive backfield.
Yeah, those guys, they're definitely, great players, and they know how to go make plays. We just want to come out and play to the best of our ability and, give the team a chance to go win this thing. But I have the utmost confidence, in all those guys that, they will make plays that come their way, and we'll get this thing done.
All right, and Joe, I mean, we talked about this a little bit on the preview show last week, the loss of Cedric Pierman. How big an effect does that have on the special teams?
I think it's still going to be a huge impact on our defense. I think Darius could give us a clearer answer, but when you lose a person like Cedric Pierman, who's been such a stalwart on our special teams, as well as contributing some offensively, him being a leader, of that of our special teams, it's a huge loss. But I think athletically, we have the linebackers and defensive backs and tight ends, those guys that fulfill that special team roster. I think talent-wise and what we have physically that we can be okay. We do have, still have, Vinny Ray. You have a lot of guys, Burkhead. You have a lot of guys out there that are have played special teams throughout their career and have experience. So I think, hopefully those guys can get the newcomers up and ready for this opening game and make sure that special teams don't do the things to lose the game. You need those three parts: offense, defense, and special teams. And special teams will always play a vital part in every game. And I don't think this game will be any different.
All right, so Joe, Bengals are playing the Jets. What's your biggest memory? I know you played for the Jets, but what's your biggest memory playing against the Jets as a Bengal?
Well, we when I was a Bengal, we played them. I want to say 86, and we beat them. So they weren't really a top team, even though that year they had won 10 straight. But then they lost their last 6, I think it was. But my really only memory was when my biggest memory was I got traded to New York the last preseason game, my 5th year in the league, and the first week, the opening day, we were playing Cincinnati. So it was kind of awkward because I literally had really 6 days to try and learn this defensive scheme. And, I'm out there playing in Riverfront against these guys that I went to war with, guys who were like family and still are like family to me. So, it was a very emotional game. The Bengals won, but that game was just sort of a fog to me because just trying to learn the place. You're trying to concentrate and you're trying to learn an entirely new scheme. We had run a 3-4 defense, and the Jets were their 4-3 defense. And trying to learn and adapt to the different schemes in 6 days was pretty tough. But it was an emotional game. Because it was against those guys. And, after the game was over, we had a very emotional, heartfelt, brotherly love hug at midfield. So that was probably my biggest memory of the Bengal Jets, different games here and there.
All right, Joe, so we're going to have to do this where we predict the score. We won't make Darius predict the score because I think it's pretty obvious he's going to pick the Bengals. But it's probably pretty obvious. We are also, because 17 shows last year, I think we picked the Bengals 17 times. So what's your prediction for this game, Joe?
Well, it looked like, Mike, I'm started off like I started off last year, like I finished it last year. I think the Bengals will be 1-0. I think, and I think we'll be some times we're on the road. We're in New York City. It's opening day, so I know New York fans are going to be nuts. The stadium is going to be nuts. The environment is going to be crazy. They're going to be rooting their team on. And I think initially the game will be close because of those factors. But I think the fact that I think our defense, period, all 11, I think we're better than them. I think our defensive line is going to be dominant, and that's definitely going to help. Our corners, because you're going against Brandon Marshall, one of the best wide receivers in NFL. Just with his physicality, his size, and speed, he's a matchup. He's a matchup problem for anybody, and he'll definitely be a matchup problem for us. But I think our improved offensive line will control the line of scrimmage and make enough plays, make enough blocks. So we can score, a couple of touchdowns here and there. But I think this game will be close. I don't see us necessarily going up there and dominating the Jets. I'm looking at something like 24-17, something like that. But I think we'll do enough to get that first victory of the season.
Yeah, it's a big game because you know what comes up next week.
Yeah.
Steeler week.
Huh?
It's Steeler week 2.
Yeah. Steeler week. We that's why I'm looking at this and say it's going to be close because I'd be lying. And I think those guys who have been on the team, they be lying to say that game is not circled on the calendar. I guarantee you, as a veteran, you can't afford to look past anybody. Doesn't matter who they are, no matter what team, no matter what their record is. They're still in the NFL. You got to go out there. You got to execute. But I think, we are. There are some people that have their eyes on the Steelers, and I think more or less that has to be a statement game. It's a statement for 2016. It's a statement to just to say, hey, we are better than you. We were better than you, but it was because of what we did, not necessarily what you did to beat us. It's what we did to lose the game. And I think we are looking at that. We don't you don't want to say that you're looking past any opponent in the NFL. But I think, Darius, I'm sure you probably heard some Pittsburgh Steelers stories in that locker room because it's such a big rivalry, man. I think it's there. We're playing the Jets, but I'm sure there's a conversation, by the jacuzzi tub somewhere about those Steelers.
All right, so Joe's got the Bengals winning the game 24-17. I'm going to go 24-20 Bengals. I think the Jets are a scary team, Joe. They're good offensively. They're good defensively. They got a very good head football coach, Todd Bowles, so I think this is going to be a heck of a game. Definitely want to thank Darius Hillary for coming on the show today, Bengals cornerback. We wish you nothing but the best of luck the rest of the season, and we'd love to have you back on again.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thanks.
All right, you guys take care.
Yep. All right, guys, remember you can catch me and Joe Kelly every week on the Cincinnati Bengals Weekly Show. Joe, we doing the same time next week?
Same time next week, man. Same time next week, and hopefully we're 1-0 and looking forward to Steeler Week because there's
maybe we can have some of them illiterate Steeler fans like Leon Searcy on again so we can argue with him.
Right. We need one. We need to find one. So that would be good. That would be nice.
Oh, well, you know what? If you find a Steeler fan, 99% chance they're illiterate anyways. So it shouldn't be hard to do. All you got to do is find somebody walking around with a Steelers thing on, and, chances are they're going to be dumb as hell anyways. Right. And if they're over the age of 30, they got no teeth. But I digress. There's a few Buckeyes that claim to be Steeler fans, but they get their teeth, so I think they're just bandwagoners.
Yeah, man. It's going to be a big week.
So definitely check us out next week also. Check out all of our other shows. We got the Los Angeles Rams Weekly Show with Tony Hunter, which will be coming up this week. The White Stone's doing a Pittsburgh Steelers show, so maybe we'll have to do a show with Dwight and do each other's shows there. Indianapolis Colts Weekly Show, it'll be on also this week. And, of course, the NFL Pick'em Show with myself, Matt Andrew Scavage, and former Denver Bronco Mark Cooper. So make sure you check out all those shows. You can hear us on iHeart, iTunes, TuneIns, Spreaker, Stitcher, Google Music. Anywhere you find sports podcast, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So, Joe, any final words?
Well, I'm excited. I'm glad my godson had the opportunity to come on our first show of the season. I think he's excited, and I think he has a great outlook on his situation. But I think just the team. He's excited about the team and just being down there. I think this year we say it, Mike, and Bengals fans, we've been saying it a long time. We've been saying it since the '89 Super Bowl. We're headed to the Super Bowl, but man for man, 53-man squad. I think we have just as good as anybody else. As a matter of fact, I think we have a better chance than majority. There may be 4 or 5 teams.
Really, I think this, Joe. I think the AFC comes down to New England, Pittsburgh, and Cincinnati.
Definitely. I see it. I'm throwing Denver out of the picture because I think their quarterback situation.
It's an even bigger mess than it was last year.
Yeah, it is. And then you look at New England. New England's going to have to hold on for 4 games before time.
Yeah, but they'll be fine. I mean, it's Bill Belichick. They'll be at worst 2-2 after those 4 games.
Yeah,
I think you're going to have a hard time in this Arizona game, but
yeah, definitely. So,
maybe they just need to tell Carson Palmer it's a playoff game, and New England will get the win automatically.
Yeah. I'm sure we always look. There's going to be a surprise team in AFC. There's some teams lurking, so I think if all these teams stay healthy,
I think Oakland could be scary.
I was going to say Oakland. I think Del Rio out there, man. I think he's assembled some good players. He has some great talent. They added some players this year, and along with the experience they had, they gained from last year. I think they're definitely going to be in the hunt for a playoff, at least a playoff team. I think they definitely will be this year. Yeah, definitely.
And then you got a good quarterback, Derek Carr at Mark Cooper is going to be a heck of a player. Latavius Murray in the backfield. They get the little running back from Texas Tech. I always forget his name. I think his first name's DeAndre, but I think he's better than Murray. And then you got Khalil Mack in the defensive backfield and Reggie Nelson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they've gained some experience on defense. They got a little wiser, and just I think that the coaching staff, Ken Norton and all those guys that he assembled, I think the Raiders, I think they're on the rise, and I actually see them winning that division. Then because of Denver's going to be in it because of their defense. Their defense.
Yeah, their defense is going to keep them in every game. They'll win 9 or 10 games just because of the defense.
Yeah, but you still have to score points in this league, and I don't see them scoring a lot of points, this year.
Well, I think the wild card is how quickly Paxton Lynch becomes the quarterback, and then how quickly he can assimilate to the NFL style of game.
Yeah. So, but I don't think they're starting Paxton. Are they starting Paxton?
No, they're not. That's what I'm saying. They're going to start Trevor Siemian, but with the money they're paying Lynch, at some point Lynch is going to become the quarterback, and then it's just I think their season hinges on how good Lynch is. And remember, last year Peyton Manning was awful. Brock Osweiler was decent. But, I mean, they really didn't have great quarterback play. I mean, if you remember, the Bengals went there with their backup quarterback and should have beat them.
Yeah, should have beat them, yeah. So, I look over that division. Kansas City, they're going to be in the run because of Andy Reid's a good coach. But I think the Raiders, man, I think the Raiders are going to be the surprise. They're going to be the surprise team.
And I'll tell you, I think a guy that's going to surprise people this year is Melvin Gordon. He looks a lot better in the preseason than he looked last year. I know it's just a preseason, but I think that kid's a really good running back.
I've watched that kid. I watched that kid 4 or 5 years. He Erickson and Darius came in together. And Erickson was a walk-on, but just seeing Melvin, the things that he did at Wisconsin, athletically, physically, I said, he was going to light this league on fire. And last year, he was getting a lot of bad publicity, but the kid was playing. He was playing on one leg. That knee, I'm close with his mom. So I did speak with her a couple of times in the off season, and he had surgery on her knee, and he came in and he knows what he needs to do, and he looked great. He looked great preseason. I think the biggest thing is that they're healthy. But just their scheme. You drafted Melvin Gordon, who I think is as good as Gurley at Rams. I think he's going to be able to show that. But you have to. You look at last year, their offensive line.
Yeah, you got to block for him.
Yeah, but they were, those guys are hurt. They were horrible, not because they were just bad players, but they're starting. I think that 3 of their starting linemen at some point in time were out for a long time.
And if you get a good year from Gordon, Phillip Rivers is going to play good no matter what. So they're a threat too.
He's going to make plays. Yeah, so they'll be in the running. And I think Melvin's going to have a breakout sophomore year, man, and I'm looking forward to it because he's a good kid. And I think he's healthy. He can make some strides in his league.
All right, guys. So make sure you catch me and Joe next week for Steeler Week, which is always our favorite week. We got to get the Steeler Week. Got to make up for last year.
Yes.
But guys, make sure you check us out next Wednesday night for Steeler Week with myself, Joe Kelly, and we'll have a special guest as always. So for Joe Kelly, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to the Bengals Weekly Show on The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.